So I want to get into why exactly I think Joker is the perfect representation for why all lives matter.
All
I'm just
right.
kidding. That's not even in my fucking notes. I just wanted to
My heart started beating so
just
fast.
priming you because this is even worse. No. So my first note that I have. This is something when I was watching the movie. It was a question that was lingering in the back of my mind, and I went and I did a little bit of research after the movie that put a lot of that question to rest. But I still have thoughts on it. So the movie is called Joker, not The Joker, and I think this isn't by accident. Arthur Fleck is essentially a Joker, but he's not the Joker. These are my thoughts when I'm watching the movie. So I went and I looked at like the timeline of as far as what the comic books say as far as when things happen, how much older Joker is typically than Batman, and how this could all fit together. Jack Nicholson's Joker's real name was Jack Napier. Joaquin Phoenix is Arthur Fleck. So there's already like a difference there. But when he finds his adoption papers, it says on the adoption papers that he was abandoned. There's no actual birth names. So that's kind of a moot point. So the film, we know it takes place in October 1981. The radio announcer in the beginning of the film states that it's a Thursday, October 15th. The Waynes just saw Zorro the Gay Blade on the night of their murder. This film was released in July of 1981.
The gay blade, but gay meaning what?
Happy.
Which was his what? Name.
Oh yeah, okay, yay, fuck yeah. According to the DC calendar, Bruce Wayne's birthday is February 19th, 1976, which would make him 5 during the events in the Joker. Typically, he's 8 in the comics when his parents die. According to the comic book timeline, Bruce was 26 when he became Batman, so this would have been 21 years later after the events in the Joker, when he's finally donning the mask to take on the Joker in what would be 2002. So in Arthur Fleck's adoption papers, his age is revealed to be 34 in 1981, meaning he would be 55 by the time Joker's showdown happens in 2002 when Batman becomes Batman. Jack Nicholson was 42 when he played Jack Napier's Joker in 1989's Batman. That to me seemed a little old. 55 even seems a little bit more outrageous. Like, how could these pieces fit? So then I looked into, like I just did, according to the comics, how much older than Batman is the Joker, and it said typically it's about 15 to 20 years old. Most of the comics and older shows has him as like his senior. So with all that said, in September of 2019, Todd Phillips said he wanted comic book movie fans to know that there is no chance of Joaquin Phoenix's villain and Robert Pattinson's Batman ever meeting on the big screen. Not to say that Pattinson won't face off with the Joker, it just wouldn't be this person that Joaquin Phoenix played. So that kind of hinted, like, that was like, I'm right. I'm definitely right. He's not the Joker. And I'll elaborate more on this point in the what I would have changed. But then you go on to find out that Phillips said he intentionally left it ambiguous whether or not Arthur becomes the actual Joker as seen in traditional Batman stories. And Joaquin Phoenix said, who's playing the character, that he does believe that Arthur is the actual Joker, and he played it that way. So so I think I deserve forgiveness for having the suspicion that he's not the Joker because it was purposefully ambiguous, and I'm getting like conflicting ideas here because the director says no, the actor says yes. So what I think, this is because I want everything to make sense. I want my whole childhood of like putting in the homework, because if there's one comic book hero that I followed from the beginning, for as long as I can remember.
It's funny you call him a hero.
We'll
talk about it later.
But I follow Batman. I've seen every Batman film. I put in all this time with Batman. I don't want any of that reversed. Like, I as great as Joker is, I need it for me to fully appreciate it. I need it to make sense within the spectrum of the history and the character development that's already been laid out before the movie. Because after all, they're borrowing a name, they're borrowing a story. It should at least connect. So the best way that I could connect it is, I choose to believe that we don't see the real Joker at all throughout the entire film until the very end when he's speaking to the psychiatrist in the asylum, where this this is the only thing that we see that's real in general, not just the real Joker, but this is when he's talking to the psychiatrist and he's finishing up this story. Everything that we saw before that was just this story, and we could never know what parts of the story comes from a true place. We can never know what was fabricated, and that falls in line with the character development that's already been laid out as far as the Joker is concerned, that he is the unreliable narrator. And it falls back to Heath Ledger's Joker when he's telling a different story every time about how he got the cuts. So I like to believe that everything before the asylum is pretty much a visual representation of delusions or lies that our untrustworthy narrator is putting out there.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, that is I would like to let counsel know that opening statement was entertaining. It was very thought out. It was very it was a talking point that like we've never seen before on TTFT. And had I not been myself and been prepared and been the man that I am, the film lover that I am, I'm here to rescue you guys from suspended animation. And no, respectfully though, okay. Now, as the defense rests, here comes the prosecution.
Guys, here we go.
I like to entitle this segment, as we've always done, talking points.
I consider them laughing points.
As we know, the film was, of course, directed by Todd Phillips. And if you did not notice, the film opens with the Warner Brothers logo, but the old one from 1972. So they're already letting you know they're setting the scene from how this thing is going to go. Now, here's what I really loved about this film. It was a duality thing that happened here. It was more so of a alley versus alley. If you notice here, when Joker got, or should we say Arthur Fleck got beat down at the very beginning of the film by those kids, he was in an alley.
Mm-hmm.
And from that moment on, I decree, first off, the beast was bearing right after that, but I decree at that very moment, the downward spiral happened. Bruce Wayne in an alley when his parents got fucked up by virtue of what happened because of Joker, he from that point pretty much took a downward spiral. He's not okay mentally either. We'll get on that later, but Batman's not okay. I want everybody to understand that shit. So my point is in two different alleys, lives took a downward spiral. That's what I'm saying, alley versus alley. I would like to say that. Now, in this film, I would like to point out that if you guys notice, when I say a matrix feel to this, I'm not talking about, this, that, and the other. I'm talking about the desaturation. In the film, so many things are desaturated. But if you notice, when he becomes Joker, everything livens up. The way he comes down those stairs, the sun, like even in his apartment now, when his mom's going, like the sun's beaming in on him. So if you guys didn't notice that's fucking amazing to me. Now.
Yeah, right after he killed his mom was the first time it kind of like, it started to pick up. You started to see peace in him.
Mm-hmm. One of the other thing I want to mention about that, if you didn't notice this, is I know you're gonna use some shots from this, and you're gonna love to get it. It's not every time, but earlier in your theory, you mentioned like you don't really want to, you can't really pinpoint what's real and what's not. Well, I would like to say if you subscribe to that theory, then most of the times what was not real when it came to Zaza Beet's character is when she was wearing the same color of his suit. Like she wore that color so many times, but not every time. So if you're trying to put some logic with your theory, which is okay, he knew her, but he didn't know her, he did it, but okay, that's whatever, splitting hairs. But there were specific times when he was in specific places that she had that specific color on. It's the first time he met her, she had it on, but I will keep going. Now, with that being said, this is what I like to call time is a spectrum. Guys, I'm surprised Durden didn't get this. He's all about numbers, he's super smart, and this should let him know how prepared I am to go on this episode. If you guys do not notice this, time is a spectrum. Clocks throughout the film. If I'm not mistaken, almost every clock has the exact same time. If you notice here that the clocks themselves, if I'm not mistaken, each one is right at the beginning or end of the 11 and right past 2 at every single time. When he punches the clock, that's the time. When he's talking to the therapist at the beginning of the film, it's that time. And when he's in the psychotic ward, it's that time. So what I'm telling you is, with the timestamps of that film, time is the theory. And what I mean by that is that brought me to my time theory. He never left the asylum, people. Therapists, remember, at the beginning of the film, the young queen that she is says, Do you remember why you were locked up? And it cuts to a shot of him banging his head against the wall. That shot has the time there. Immediately, and see, this is why Todd Phillips and anybody else who's a great writer is fucking mad at me right now, because we're doing shit that no one else has done on the internet. When they come back to that same scene, they didn't just put that clock there for any reason with that exact same time and that exact same scene. Do you remember why you locked up? So essentially, as far as what was really happening in the movie, it was a 10-second movie. It was him banging his head against the wall in that asylum and him at the end of that film. That's the film that's happening. So I don't disagree with you on that. Now, did we just become best friends? God damn you, man. So I'm not done. I'm not done. Okay, I'm almost there. Okay, so again, it's just 3 times you see that clock. And so you see it when he said, we'll talk about that later. Okay, now I'm going to keep moving again, because that time theory, you didn't notice that, the time clocks?
No.
Oh yeah, I forgot to punch out, and everybody's looking at him yet again, punching something. I'm like, damn, it's
that was improvised too.
One time he decided to come back in and punch the clock, literally.
I forgot to punch out.
Right, but not the clock.
Yeah,
that part.
No,
You're 100% correct. So also moving on. Young Batman is sick as fuck. Young Bruce Wayne is just he fucking disgusts me. How the fuck do you, not a grown ass man, how do you let a grown ass stranger man put his fingers all in your fucking mouth, you disgusting child boy, you little homo sapien.
This is victim.
That's no. You're taught several things when you first were born as a child. Stove hot, yell stranger danger, and don't piss in your clothes. He let someone I think he had 9 fingers in his mouth. He's a sick fuck. Anyway, man, moving on, man. Speaking of sick fucks, this might have been one of the best Joker films ever. That was the weakest Alfred I've ever seen in my fucking life. This is the first time they made Alfred a bitch. They let Alfred climb a wall, and he replaced Batman, Adam West's Batman in the show. One time they're like, how did you do it, Batman? He was like, oh my goodness, I had to climb the wall as Batman. Like, Alfred has always been hard. He's that dude. Michael Caine played fucking Alfred, and you gonna let this bitch ass Alfred come, man? Jesus, all right. Excuse me.
I agree with your assessment on Alfred.
Okay.
Now, I'm just glad I don't have to censor any of this.
What's that wrestling video? You're like, Jesus, man, calm down. All right. So to my point, and to Durden's point from earlier, you brought up, and this is why our show's awesome, you brought up the point to where he tried to get back into the hospital and maybe it was technology. I said it was not technology. It goes to what you and I have just said. The reason why he doesn't just run into the glass for any reason. When he waves his hand above the thing, he's not there, so it's not going to recognize anybody. And that's why as soon as somebody else come by, it opens the fuck up. He tries to wave his hand at the thing, it does nothing. And they're like, it doesn't matter. Because he didn't see the glass because he didn't know he was going through something. He's still in the asylum. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He's doing that.
That's veering a little bit from what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's now, you veer, I stay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Okay. He usually dresses up, and last but not least.
Because I would look at that moment as if the Joker is sitting in an asylum telling this story. He's at the end of the day, he's funny. He at least attempts to be funny. So I feel like that part of the story was again just a fabrication that he was coming up with as he's telling this story to the psychiatrist. But I think there was, as like he says in the story, I thought my life was a tragedy. It's really a comedy. That moment, I think was like, it was a perfect moment for him to convey in this fictional story he's telling that, look, people don't notice me. They'll walk right over me on the streets if I was dead. Not even technology notices me. It won't even acknowledge the fact that I'm standing at the door trying to get in. Like, I think it was just something that he made up to make his story funnier, that he was making up.
Well, guys in the comments, please let us know on that. And last but not least, I want to let you know that Thomas Wayne told him the exact truth. If you didn't get to see the whole film, that bathroom scene between them, he told him. He like you're my dad. He was like, listen, man. Your mom worked there. She went crazy, this, that, and the other. Because everything, I understand powerful people can make things look how they want, but he wasn't like he was going out of his way. He didn't like, he's like, oh, I know her. Yeah, she worked and she went crazy because guess what? The proof was, the reality was, she did fuck him up because she was fucked up. She said him by the radio, all those things. So Thomas Wayne in 30 seconds told him the truth.
Yeah.
And that's what really sent him. He was already on the downward spiral, but just hearing the truth. So we'll move on, guys.
The truth, or yeah,
it was the truth. No, okay, I'll help you out there.